Steven, it feels like just yesterday that we were talking Arkham cards on here.
Yeah, very recent.
Actually, I think it was today. But we're here to continue our first impressions review of the player cards in the Dream Eaters box from Arkham Horror, the card game. Thanks for joining me again. My name is Brandon. If you're just joining us, you're here on day 3 as we do a quick video on each of the classes and the basic and neutral cards in the box. So feel free to go back or start here. It should be good either way.
Yeah, just 4 days till you let me out of your game house.
You signed up for a week.
Blood.
That's right. Rogue cards. What we're here for today.
Yeah. Though, did we want to touch on the
Right.
Akachi issue from the last one?
Right. If you watched yesterday's video, we... Actually, I should just throw Steven under the bus. Steven mused as to whether we were looking at the pendant of... Not pendant of Onyx. Segment of Onyx and the pendant of the Queen, and wondering whether Akachi could take them because they're occult cards. We looked it up. You want to fill us in?
Yeah, so Akachi's deck building is occult cards level 0 and cards with charges level 0 to 4. Yep. So these cards have both charges and they're occult, and they're just 1 XP level off.
Yep.
I feel like that's kind of a dick move for FFG to go with both of Akachi's themes and just make them 1 XP out of her reach.
Yeah, because it's a level 1 card, and it's even 1 XP for 3 copies.
Exactly. So it's like they literally they gave it a third of an XP just to keep it away from Akachi. Like, come on.
Poor Akachi. You were right too. It would have been fun with her.
Yeah. 4 Tesla's clues, 4 evades. Like, come on. Let Akachi have some fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that disappointment out of the way. Let's see if the road cards are disappointing. Want to dive into Tony?
Sure, yeah. Tony Morgan is the bounty hunter. He's 2 will, 3 book, 5 fist. That is really surprising. And 2 agility. Is that 2 higher than the next fightiest rogue?
Yeah, has there ever been a 4 combat?
I don't
rogue?
think so.
Wow. Huh. I mean, like, Skids isn't 4 combat, is he? Skids might be.
I think he's 3. I think he's only 4 at agility. I'm not 100%, but
I mean, they have such low willpower. The stats have to go somewhere, right? So really not.
Yeah, it normally goes to like agility, which he's really bad at.
Yeah, or intellect. Some of them have decent intellect. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so he's almost like the Carolyn of rogues, like just very different stats. Bad at agility, good at fighting.
Right.
And he's a criminal and hunter. You may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to engage or fight an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it. And his elder sign is +2, place 1 bounty on bounty contracts. And it's
okay, so
9 health and 5 sanity. Also
right.
very kind of guardian beat stick like. When I find that beast, I'll put it down for good.
Ominous. All right. So, man, I like to give like first reaction to these based on this alone, but without bounties, his ability does nothing, and his Elder Sign effect is +2. So that's not that interesting. Shall we read on?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you give us his deck building?
Yeah. So 30 cards. Choose Guardian, Seeker, or Survivor at deck creation, just like Mandy.
Interesting.
He can take rogue cards 0 to 5, neutral 0 to 5, up to 10 level 0 to 1 events and or skills of your chosen secondary class. So no assets from those secondaries. I think, and that's
also just like Mandy. Yeah.
And deck building requirements: bounty contracts, 2 copies of Tony's 38 long cult, Tony's query, 1 random basic weakness.
So that's interesting that this is kind of maybe a new like deck building style that I don't know if it's just these 2 in this box that have it, but that we might see in every class over time.
Yep.
I think my favorite thing about it is the way it defines. You've reached over for Mandy.
Yeah. Also events and skills. Yeah.
I think it says a lot what one class they can't choose. Like, Mandy is absolutely not a fighter.
Yeah.
She's not a guardian. She can't be a guardian. She can dabble in anything but that. Tony is absolutely not magical.
Yep.
He can do anything he wants as long as it is not mystic. I like that. Okay, I still, unless you have anything else you want to mention here, I still don't know what bounties are.
Yeah.
So I need to keep reading.
Bounties.
So finally, bounty contracts is a permanent signature asset. Tony Morgan deck only. It is a job, and it uses 6 bounties. As a reaction, after an enemy enters play, move 1 to 3 bounties from bounty contracts to that enemy, to a maximum of that enemy's health. Oh, so it's like it's 3 or the health, whichever is higher. Forced, after you defeat an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, move its bounties to your resource pool as resources. Okay. So let me put Tony back in front of me with this. So this is doing a couple things. It is generating resources.
Yep.
Presumably 6 there's probably ways to manipulate this, and his Elder Sign ability does, but it's got kind of it's a source of 6 resources up front. Yep. If you can move them to enemies, and then if you are the one to defeat those enemies. But then also, if there's 1 or more bounties on an enemy, then you get an extra action to engage or fight them. Interesting. Okay, it's starting to come together.
Yeah, so I think there are... So the investigators with abilities that give them a free action are Daisy, Ursula, Skids. Are there any other ones that give you a free action?
Marie.
Oh yeah, and Marie, of course.
Yep.
So Tony's kind of in that wheelhouse, but there's also
Did you say Finn?
Oh, and Finn, of course. Yeah. Then there's also the investigators with economic abilities, which are Jenny and Preston, and Carolyn. So Tony's like kind of halfway between both of those groups.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. So he's... Yeah, okay. So he can basically get this free action against a max, again, barring his Elder Sign, a maximum of 6 bounties based on what we've seen so far. Or a maximum of 6 enemies, which is actually quite a few.
Yeah, I feel like I would be generally putting 1 bounty on each enemy until like the end of the game when I knew I was going to have extra bounties. Because like a free action is more valuable than like 1 extra resource most of the time.
Yeah, on the other hand, getting like 3 resources early in the game, that's a free emergency cache. That's pretty strong.
Sure. Yeah.
That gives you, if you can pull that off against a swarm of rats or something early on, like that's you're set for a little while.
Yeah, I mean that would be illegal against a swarm of rats, but
okay, true. Maximum of 1. Good point. The hit point limit. But all right, why don't you read us his gun? He's got more signature assets, it looks like, than just the bounty contracts.
Yeah. So just like Mandy, multiple copies of the same signature, but in this case 2 copies. Mm-hmm. Tony's 38, 3-cost asset with a fist, a book, and a wild. Item, weapon, and firearm. Tony Morgan only, uses 3 ammo. Reaction, after you play Tony's 38 long cult, play another Tony's 38 long cult from your hand at no cost. Interesting. As an action, spend 1 ammo. Fight, you get +1 fight for each bounty on the attacked enemy. So that would be a reason to put 3 on him. This attack deals +1 damage. If the attack defeats an enemy with 1 or more bounties on it, place 1 bounty on bounty contracts.
Ooh. Okay, so this is another way to get... Really, if you're using these guns to close out on those bounties, they refresh themselves.
Yeah, well, it gives you 2 avenues. Like, you can put 3 bounties on a really tough-to-kill, like, say, boss, and this is now a +3 fight weapon. Or if you're just placing 1 bounty on each, then they're kind of replenishing themselves and you're not actually losing bounties.
This is cool. This is like a neat little I don't want to use the word resource because that's its own thing, but like a resource management kind of puzzle, kind of mini game.
Yeah.
Really interesting. So this text about when you play one, you can play the other. That seems like, I mean, it's a nice little perk, but more flavor than anything.
Well,
like you have 2 of these little guns and you pull them both.
But it's also in the same box as Mandy. I think that's saying like play him with Mandy and try to set up the dream combo. Like a single no stun in turn 5 that Mandy plays on Tony gets both.
That's a good point. And so what's the reward for that? It's saving 3 resources in an action. Like, well, okay, that's good. It's not.
Yeah, but also you now have you almost don't need to worry about bounties for the rest of the game now because you're now at kind of like 12 bounties. So I mean that's pretty sweet. Like you don't have to worry that much about ammo. You don't have to worry that much about bounties. I feel like Tony and Mandy is going to be a really strong duo.
Yeah, I think I would be most likely to, on that ammo point, since you really want to have these guns. I think choosing Guardian as his off class so you can do extra ammunition, which is a level 1 card, I believe.
Yes.
So you can play it.
Yep.
I think that would be clutch. And Contraband, too, but doubling 3 in the best case scenario, and it's such an expensive card, I feel like extra ammunition seems better than that.
Yeah, agreed.
And Venture is an asset. You could not play Venture.
Yep.
But, okay, very cool. That's another piece of the puzzle. I think there's one more in the signature weakness. Tony's Quarry. You think this is the beast that his quote was about?
Yeah, must be.
Must be. It is a humanoid, a monster, and a deep one because it's an enemy weakness that has 4 combat, 3 hit points. 3 is a convenient number. He can put any number of bounties on it. And 1 evade. It spawns at the location farthest from Tony Morgan. It's aloof, but then says forced. After it enters play, place 1 doom on it. Then place 1 resource from the token pool on it as a bounty. Oh, he gets a free bounty against it.
But doom also.
But doom. So, doesn't seem that bad to me. It actually, I expected it to throw a real wrench in the bounty management system, kind of like Mandy's weakness throws a wrench in her whole shtick. But this is kind of like better than Ancient Evils, right?
Yeah, but Ancient Evils would be a pretty bad personal weakness.
Sure. Okay, that's true. But, like, I don't know. I don't see 1 doom that you can, if you want to, clear as being particularly harsh at all.
I think it's still probably in the upper half of like worst weaknesses. Like
really?
There's some of the weakness monsters are really not that bad. Like Norman's is like 2 HP, for example. I mean, the fact that it can just appear on the other side of the map and you don't have an elusive, and so it's basically loses you a turn, like that's pretty brutal.
I'm not convinced that this is all that bad. Like, putting Doom on the board is just such a constant thing that, like, 1 more just doesn't seem...
But the fact that it's farthest from you, like, there's going to be... I mean, imagine Essex. Like, this would be a disaster in Essex.
Okay, it would. That's a good point. Tony in Essex is in trouble. But most of the time, the location furthest from you is, like, no more than 3 away. And in this case... you're not going to go fight it unless it happens to be pretty close, like if it's a small map. Otherwise, I think you're not going to spend, say it's 3 spaces away, you're not going to spend 3 moves and then action. Oh, it has a bounty on it, so free action to engage it, I guess, but then 2 attacks on it. 5 actions to take a Doom off the table. Doom goes away on its own, and you can do other things. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, I don't know that there's no other personal weakness that adds a Doom. I don't think.
Marie's kind of dabbles with Doom with David Renfield, right? But
Marie, yeah, you kind of have to add Doom, but you can choose one to add Doom.
Not Renfield. What's the name of her?
It's a Baron something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to add Doom to it, but you can kind of choose one.
Right. Yeah. Okay, we'll have to try it out. But I don't know. I don't think there's Essex, obviously an exception, but there's not that many times when 1 Doom is the worst thing in the world, as demonstrated by half of scenarios having Ancient Evils. Right.
Well, that's the card you save your cancel for, then.
I guess that's true. Okay. Any other thoughts on Tony before we go on to the rogue cards?
No, just probably. I think along with Mandy, he's the one I'm probably most excited for.
Yeah, he's super cool. Without feeling too... Like, and I think Mandy does this well, too. He's very interesting without being, like, overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, Preston and Joe, they're also very interesting, but they add so much, like, bookkeeping and these crazy decision trees, and in Joe's case, unpredictability, and you're building the second day. Like, they add so many layers to what's going on, and these don't add that many layers, but they do add really interesting... considerations to the way you play and the way you build your deck. So I'm really enjoying them.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's on you to read us the Crystallizer of Dreams.
Sure, yeah. It's a 1-cost asset with a will icon, item, and relic. It's got a skull, so it kind of reminds me of the decorated skull relic. As an additional cost to put this card into play, you must search your bonded cards for 1 copy of Guardian of the Crystallizer and shuffle it into your deck. After you play an event, attach it face down to Crystallizer of Dreams instead of discarding it to a maximum of 5 events. Attached events may be committed to skill tests as if they were in your hand.
Huh.
Yeah, so you don't actually...
Oh.
So they started as events, but you cannot actually reuse them as events.
No, so it's not... And there are other rogue cards for that. And rogue investigators for that. So it would... My brain almost goes to like, oh, you get to play things twice. But you actually just get to play them and then use their icons.
So, yeah.
Okay. It's cool. It's cheap and it uses the accessory slot, which is, for some investigators, not high in contention. So it's a pretty cool card. It's another interesting wrinkle. It's not that common for me to be looking at the icons on my events, right? Because generally, at least when I'm deck building, I'm thinking about what their text does. And the icons are, like, when something has 2 matching icons, that's nice. It helps justify a niche event.
Yeah.
But I'm not really looking at, like, oh, I'm really likely to put this into a test most of the time. Now, all of a sudden, I want to, if I'm using Crystallizer of Dreams, fill my deck up with events that have good icons as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number I can think of. Uncage the Soul is 2 will. Logical Reasoning's 2 will. Ward Protection is 1 wild. So there's a number that are pretty good. Sure. And you get this awesome Guardian of the Crystallizer, which I'm sure is a great card.
Bonus, right?
That, it just makes it even more valuable.
On that note, why don't we look ahead of that? It is, surprise, surprise, a bonded weakness. The second time that we've seen the bonded mechanic used for weaknesses. It's a monster with 3/3/3 stat line, and it's a hunter. Prey, investigator with a Crystallizer of Dreams only. Guardian of the Crystallizer enters play exhausted. Okay, so it appears you have some time. And then forced. If there's no Crystallizer of Dreams in play, set the Guardian of the Crystallizer aside, out of play. Okay, so I guess, first of all, another cool use of the bonded keyword. And I think a huge flavor win that you have this relic that something out there is hunting you because you're using this. Like, that is incredibly cool. But I worry that it pushes this card from being like, yeah, that's interesting, to being not worth it.
Yeah. I wonder. Because it's not that bad. Like,
no.
So let's say you're playing Safina. This enters play exhausted. You could save, like, a Holy Rosary in hand to overwrite your Crystallizer of Dreams, and then you just get rid of the Guardian of the Crystallizer.
Oh, that's interesting that you can... Once this is in play, you can still throw away the Crystallizer in order to clear this. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. That hadn't occurred to me. I thought that was just so that if you drew it and had lost this in the meantime, it wouldn't still hunt you. But, okay. Huh. I mean, man, this reminds me of... What is it? It's not the blade that hungers, right? What's the name of the Guardian card?
The Hungering Blade, I think.
Oh, I was close then. Okay. Yeah. This strikes me as kind of like that. This is so just awesome and such a flavorful card that I want to play with it, but I'm not convinced that it's going to be all that good.
Yep. No, that's probably true.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad it exists. So, notably, I think this is the first bonded we've seen that isn't 3 in 1, right?
Yeah, totally.
We've had 1 card with 3 bonded cards, and we've had vice versa. And then this is 1 in 1, and it does include 2 copies in the box. You can play them both.
Yeah.
So you could take Relic Hunter, have both Crystallizer of Dreams in play for some reason, and have 2 Guardians hunting you.
Yeah. And also notably that it checks for if there's any Crystallizer of Dreams in play. It doesn't check if the original one's in play. So if you overwrite one with the other, it doesn't get rid of the Guardian.
I cannot fathom why you would do that. But
well, no, because if it did say, like, if Crystallizer of Dream leaves play, then you might actually put both in your deck, and then once the Guardian shows up, you swap out which one you have.
Oh, that's a good point. It would... No, wait. Is there a moment where there's not one in play? If you replace one with another?
Well, if it said, like, if it leaves play or something like that.
But this says if there's no Crystallizer of Dreams in play.
Yeah. I don't think it ever would get discarded.
Okay. Yeah, which I think makes sense. I mean, I think the reason you would play 2 copies of this is because you really want to make sure you draw it, not because not because of hijinks like that.
If you built your whole deck around like events with 2 skill icons, then sure, play 2.
Yeah. Okay, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. As well, we both played some Netrunner, but as our big Netrunner player, why don't you take this one?
Sure. It's a 0-cost event, 1 XP, book and agility. Easy Mark, classic criminal economy card. It's a trick, so Rita can take it, right?
True.
It's Myriad. Gain 2 resources and draw 1 card. That is almost annoyingly close to Easy Mark. Easy Mark would be gain 3 resources.
Yeah.
So, but I guess because emergency cash already existed, that they couldn't do that.
True. Yeah. It would just be too similar to emergency cash. Yeah.
And then as a fast reaction, after you play Easy Mark, play another Easy Mark from your hand at no cost. Okay, that's cool.
So it's okay. So it's Myriad. You can have 3 copies in your deck, and it's just 1 XP for all 3 copies, should you want them.
Yeah.
And you probably would because they chain together if you happen to have multiples of them. Like, that's an interesting use of Myriad. The getting more of them for free if you can chain them is kind of underwhelming when it costs 0, though.
Well, but but there's no action.
Like, it saves you the action, which is good, but I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze on like. Are you really gonna hold one of these in your hand to be like, oh, I'd really like those 2 resources, but I'm gonna wait until I get a second one to save 1 action?
At the same time, like if you have 1 XP left over, like is there really much downside in replacing your emergency caches with Easy Marks?
Good point. Actually, yeah, for 1 XP you can sub out your emergency caches and one other thing with 3 copies of this. I would do that. Yeah.
And it also it continues kind of the theme of like maybe Tony and Mandy, where like Mandy helps you find both cults at the same time and also helps you find like multiple Easy Marks at the same time. So.
Yeah, I think that's true. Well, I think that'll probably be true of every Myriad card, that Mandy's like gonna go great with that because she helps you find multiple copies, and I would imagine that I think Tommy's was kind of an exception, but that they like reward you for having multiple copies.
Yeah, Bloodlust not so much.
Or no, yeah, not Tommy's. I was referring to Solemn Vow. I shouldn't have said Tommy's, the Guardian one, but that one doesn't really care whether you get a lot of them, really.
Well, and Bloodlust, you explicitly don't want to find a bunch in a row.
That's not Myriad though. That's just Bonded.
Oh, okay. Because there are 3 of them. But.
There are, yeah. But the Bonded cards don't need Myriad because they're not in your deck. So, yeah, it's cool. I actually was pretty underwhelmed until you pointed out that, like, it is basically... It's not strictly better than Emergency Cash, but it's pretty much better. Mm-hmm. And so for 1 XP, subbing this in and having that opportunity to maybe chain them together, like, sure, actually. All of a sudden I went from probably not going to play this to this is a rogue staple. Excellent point. All right. That's the rogue cards. Any more thoughts on green?
No, I think it's really fun to have this new kind of like rogue fighter archetype. You probably, I'm trying to think, you probably want to take Guardian as your secondary to give you more choices, but
Guardian's just gonna synergize with his 5 combat the best, right?
Yeah.
Like Seeker, Seeker can be card draw and things that you can focus on, but he doesn't have enough intellect to like take those Seeker cards and suddenly be a great...
Well, he has 3, so maybe for solo you take Seeker or Survivor.
Yeah, keep in mind Seeker you can't take the assets though, so it's not like you're getting magnifying glasses.
True, yeah. Yeah, mostly be for the card draw and the skill cards. But yeah, I think definitely multiplayer, if he's your primary fighter, Guardian will be definitely the most common. Mm-hmm. Survivor could be interesting. You could play things like Look What I Found to help you get clues in solo. So maybe that's the solo choice for him.
Do you think he'll be a good enough fighter to be like the team's fighter? To be like a 3 or 4 player game doesn't need a Guardian because we've got Tony?
I think so. There's only one Guardian that has as much fight as him.
Yeah, that's true.
And we haven't seen a lot of play of the Rogue Thompson, but I think some of that's just that we haven't had a really good fighting rogue yet. So
that's a great point. We haven't the rogue weapons in general don't get a whole lot of play, but since he can't take off-class assets, he's gonna play them, right?
Yeah. So you've got the Rogue Thompson and the Chicago Typewriter, which is a 3 damage weapon.
Switchblade 2 is fine.
Yeah, Switchblade 2 is
Like,
actually pretty good.
yeah.
Like I've even put that into like a Leo deck.
Yeah, it's a legitimately very good card, and I think would be great with him. Yeah, with all this combat, he's likely to pass those thresholds for the bonuses.
Probably the one challenge in solo would be, what do you do about these will tests? Because I think in multiplayer you're going to be relying on everyone else. You're probably going to be playing.
Yeah.
You handle this one. You're probably going to be asking them to come over and test against the will tests that stay in front of you and other people can test. So maybe you take logical reasoning, you take secret and logical reasoning, but like that will be a challenge for him in solo for sure.
This is a familiar refrain for rogues, right? I mean, they're not all low willpower because Jenny is fine. As with everything, Jenny is fine, and then there's Safina, but Skids and Finn are both scraping the bottom of the barrel on willpower as well.
And Preston.
And Preston. And Preston. Very true. So, like, if you're a rogue player, you're used to that.
Yeah, you just be a dick.
Okay, should we wrap it there?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow should be Mystic, I believe, as we get further into the Dream Eater's box. This is the halfway point. So congrats if you've been with us through every video so far. If you haven't, shame on you. Go back and watch them.
Send food and water. It doesn't feed me very well.
Yeah, Steven gets out next weekend, so this weekend. Sooner than you think. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. See you tomorrow. Be optimal. Bye.